Since leaving Saturday Night Live, Will Forte has had one of the more interesting careers. He now features in the Netflix black comedy mystery thriller Bodkin. Let's talk about it. Hey guys, Dan here. This is Dan Reviews It. Welcome to my TV review for Bodkin. This is streaming 7 episodes on Netflix. It is not officially listed as a miniseries, so this could actually get subsequent seasons. Nothing has been announced yet, so for now it's just these 7 episodes. It could serve as a miniseries, but it could also be an ongoing show too, because of course the mystery is wrapped up in season 1, but maybe we'll move on to a different mystery in subsequent years. I don't know, but anyway, before we launch into the specifics of the show and my thoughts on it, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are one of my Dan Reviews It subscribers already, thank you so much for that. Love having you guys return. But if you're not, please consider subscribing. Click that notification bell too, so you get the alerts for all my video drops. And I do try to post something just about every day, so always a lot to check out here. All right, so we have Will Forte playing Gilbert Power, which in itself is sort of a comedic name. I think there's comedic elements to this. We'll get into all that, I guess, but let's just say for now, Gilbert Power is his name, and he is a podcaster from America traveling to Bodkin, which is an Irish coastal town, investigating a cold case involving the disappearance of 3 people during a celebration several decades before. And he is joined by an Irish investigative journalist played by Siobhan Cullen. And you also have Gilbert's podcaster assistant played by Robin Cara. And then, obviously, a whole host of people that they meet along the way as the mystery unfolds. So this is very much in the vein of, some of the popular shows of the day. Certainly, Only Murders in the Building is kind of an instant touchstone because of the podcasting aspect, the murder aspect of it. But you've also got things like the show with Vince Vaughn, Monkey, what was that called? Bad Monkey, where there's a murder in Florida. He's not a podcaster, but it's sort of, an investigation of some murders and some other nefarious things. And that sort of wry sense of humor. So I think that makes it kind of an easy comparison as well. But I mentioned at the top, Will Forte has had a very, very interesting post-SNL career. Of course, he has done stuff still tethered to SNL, like the MacGruber TV show on Peacock, and he hosted SNL. But he's done a lot of voice work, always doing something kind of different with his voice, too. He's not just one of these straight-ahead, let's just read the lines. And he has, I think, a couple of animated things coming out, including he's in the new Pixar Disney Plus TV show that's going to premiere, I think, this week, called Win or Lose. And he's done a bunch of other movies and stuff. And he has a starring role on The Great North, which is part of Fox's animation domination situation. But also, Last Man on Earth is, I guess, the first kind of high-profile project he did after leaving SNL. And that was so unique and so interesting and cool. I loved that show. This has shades of sort of a lot of different things that Will Forte has done over the years. Not necessarily repeating himself, I would say, but there's definitely that sort of wink and a nod to the camera that we've had in some of his other projects, like Last Man on Earth. But like that show, this one has a lot of layers that keep getting peeled back. So obviously, the whole hook of him being a podcaster, that is not necessarily new. But what we do find out is that in maybe episode 2 or 3, we learn that, yes, he has this hugely successful podcast, but only for 1 season. The other things he's done, the other cases he's looked at, have done nothing. No numbers, nobody cared. He had this one big one and then kind of fizzled out. So he's hoping that this will sort of return him to glory. And to do that, they sort of start uncovering things. He keeps insisting, well, we're just here to report the story. We're not trying to unravel the mystery necessarily or, discover what happened and where these people went. We're just sort of telling the facts as we know it. But the more people that they come in contact with that sort of are warning them to stay away, and some of them, threatening harm if they don't stay away, the more they realize, oh, okay, we're actually onto something real here that maybe we need to uncover. We need to get to the bottom of. And of course, in his mind, that's great numbers for the podcast as well, if they are able to do that. So look, I will say this starts out a bit slow. I would say the first two, maybe even three episodes are, kind of gearing up, slowly but surely, as steady as she goes. I can't say I was ever necessarily bored, but I did want it to sort of get moving at some point, probably around episode two. I was like, all right, well, where is this going? Is this going to be one of these shows that I just sample a couple episodes of to review, or is this going to hook me enough that I want to finish and find out? And luckily, by episode three, they had hooked me enough that I wanted to then watch all 7 episodes and find out how this wraps up and what happens. And as they sort of unravel those layers, it definitely gets more and more interesting. I will say though, so I mentioned his name is, sort of humorous, Gilbert Power. I don't know, not that it's humorous necessarily, but it's obviously a very masculine kind of name, and that is not this character. But I sort of wanted more of that kind of wry and interesting Will Forte sense of humor. His sketches on SNL were always sort of left of center a bit. He's got that sort of mindset, and Last Man on Earth was too. It was certainly not your typical sitcom. And I guess I sort of wanted a little bit more of that, because there are shades of humor here and there, and pockets of a sarcastic quip or whatever. But I don't think we ever get enough of that. And now, obviously, on the other end of that, you have something like Only Murders in the Building that is first and foremost a comedy. And then, yes, the murders are interesting, certainly. But first and foremost, I think of Only Murders as a comedy show. And I'm not sure I wanted this to be that necessarily. But, it is certainly a black comedy in spots. And they want you to go along for that. I guess I just wanted a little more of that, and just a little more momentum in those early couple episodes. But look, overall, I am glad I stuck with it. I think it is a fairly satisfying conclusion. Like sometimes happens with shows like this, I do think it wraps up a little too quickly. Like the last, 10 minutes is all very, jam-packed and condensed. That tends to happen with shows like this. So maybe they could have taken a little bit from the beginning and kind of tacked it on to the end there. I don't know. But overall, I think this was enjoyable, and I would like to see more adventures with this trio. Even if it's another, Irish setting, because we want to keep the trio together, and 2 of the 3 live in Ireland. There's some backstory stuff too that we learn in little drips of that maybe we could have gotten more of as well. In like episode 4 or 5, we learn a little bit more about his backstory. You could have sprinkled that throughout a little bit more. Anyway, I mean, these are all sort of nitpicky things, because I did enjoy this, but it's not to the level of Only Murders or Bad Monkey or, some of those other shows. But I'd like to see more of it. I hope we get more with this character. I will leave Bodkin, season 1, with a B-. I almost gave it a B. It's a little too slow moving, I think, in the beginning, though. But beautiful backdrop, certainly. Filmed on location there, and the scenery, gorgeous to look at, certainly. All right, that will do it. You can check this out on Netflix, and thank you so much for watching Dan Reviews It. I'll see you next time. Bye.